Hey, soul survivors, we're going to talk about the collateral damage of narcissism. And this topic started because of tacos. So I had invited my neighbors over for free food. And a lot of times I make tacos. They're just easy. Everybody likes them. But I like cooking other things. Also, I wanted to use up some of the things in my freezer. So I decided to do pulled pork. Free food. You're welcome to come. If not, that's fine. So dealing with narcissists. Sometimes we try to be polite. Sometimes we try to include them. But he wanted tacos. And I have made tacos way too many times, and I decided to do something different. So he was upset about that and didn't like it. But I'm making what I'm making. And I had this big roast. You roast like in my crock pot of pork loin, and I let it cook all day. And I had to run out. So I left my crock pot on and I turned it down. Now, crock pots, you either go one way and it goes down, the other way it goes up. So I had purposely turned it down. Now, I don't have the best eyesight without my glasses, but when I do that, I know that the temperature matters. So I know that I turned it down. I remember turning it, and I remember turning it the correct way. So this is the second time that the temperature on my cooking has been changed. So I had to run an errand. I was gone. I didn't lock my door, which is my fault, but I left my door unlocked and I come home and it's at 500 degrees on my crock pot. I know I did not turn it to 500. Luckily, it was in water and I was only gone a half hour to an hour. So the amount of damage, luckily it turned out fantastic. It was still good, but like a month and a half prior, I was making brownies and it was set at like 475 degrees. So I'm like, I know I didn't do that and I didn't bump it. I live alone, but the narcissist had turned up my baking. And so the brownies, the middle part was still okay, but it was burnt underneath. So it damaged the brownies. Luckily, it didn't damage the pulled pork, but they throw little fits. So that was a food for 8 people. Collateral damage. It could have cost everybody a meal. And they don't care. They just want to throw their little fit. The fact that the brownies burnt, not that big of a deal. I had other things to serve, but that's also a cost to me, a frustration to me, embarrassment that my food didn't turn out the right way. Why do they do this? I had another person who had talked about a prank that her narcissist played on her. It's kind of like a shock and awe. They do that, not necessarily for praise. They do it for like shock and awe sometimes, or to just stimulate some kind of response. And it's interesting how they will admit, I like upsetting people. I feel better when we're in arguments. They like arguments, but they also hate them at the same time. So it's really confusing. And they have to be right on everything. I just got off the phone with a friend of mine who is really struggling with her person because he sees things his way and he projects onto her things that are completely untrue. But the collateral damage that happens, I know I sold everything I had twice to be with my person, and they don't see the sacrifices that we make, and they just change their mind. And no fight ensued. No, I didn't cheat or anything like that. It's just like, oh, sorry about your luck. I know you sold everything, but I just changed my mind. And sometimes they'll tell you, sometimes they don't. So you're emotionally invested in them. They even encourage your emotional investment sometimes. So it's a struggle. We're trying to be kind. We're trying to understand them. We're trying to be patient. And it starts to get confusing. Something doesn't feel right. So we try to communicate to feel better. The collateral damage can be financial. The collateral damage can be your relationship with other people. Are you starting to be frustrated, short, anxiety ridden, unable to complete your task, depression where you're not completing your household duties, your personal hygiene, all these kind of things that it starts trickling out. So if you had parents that were narcissistic, you know, the collateral damage, little things. They wanted you to play softball. You didn't want to play softball, but you felt you had to. So you weren't really passionate into it. How did that affect the team? And when people live their authentic life, they can be passionate about things. They can enjoy things. Things fall naturally. What's meant to be will be. But when it's forced or uncomfortable, not the right match, it's either our own person or our higher spirit telling us something is not right. This is not a good match. Kind of like putting a square peg in a round hole. It's not meant to be that way. And when we enable narcissists, they continue down that path. That sometimes they need that mortification, that extreme blow to their ego to kind of, in a sense, knock them down a peg to where they have a lesson to learn. We have a lesson to learn. The things we're going through, sometimes we're the pawn to make it happen. Sometimes the lesson isn't for us. It's a collateral damage to us. But the quicker we can learn the lesson, the quicker we can build up our strength, learn how to build boundaries. This is part of our lesson, how to build boundaries, how to see through the red flags. And we go through a lot of guilt, a lot of remorse on things we could have handled differently because of the reactive abuse that might have been stimulated in us, where we react sometimes in an abusive behavior to where, we're too demanding or we become needy. And when you think about it, a lot of, and I don't know the correct way to say this, so bear with me, but in a sense, a lot of the mental illness kind of comes down to where we're not functioning at an adult level, in a sense, to where the narcissists are kind of in a childlike state. I just want to say it the right way. When we become needy, it shifts where we should be. And the part that's hard, that's holding me back from saying it the way I fear it's going to come out the wrong way, is because we try to handle it in an adult way to where we're like, hey, can we talk about this? And we either get the future faking or lies. So we're trying so hard to handle it the right way. We're trying to be adults about the situation. And people are comfortable when they match. That's when it's the most comfortable. When you're happy, you want other people to be happy with you. And sometimes when we're sad, I just want a hug. I just want to be somber and melancholy right now. And I just want you to kind of match my energy and just give me a hug. I don't want to have you throw a celebration right now, to where, there's some adjustment. We don't necessarily want our person to be depressed, but we don't want this. It's not matching the energy. Slowly bring me up, and give me a smile, maybe a little joke, but the collateral damage that happens, the narcissist can knock you down. Let's say you have a hope and dream. You're like, I'm going to go to nursing school. And they're like, do you really think you're smart enough? You're probably not smart enough. Or they complain about the money or whatever it is that they try to destroy your dreams. So sometimes we feel we haven't achieved what we're meant to achieve. Or yes, it would have been a financial investment, but investment to where in the long run, we might miss out on a higher salary because we got knocked down. How does that affect our children, our children's futures, their children's futures? That there is collateral damage. So the pulled pork could have cost everybody a meal, cost me money. Also, do I want to make meals again? So it has a future effect too, not necessarily just that meal, but the future. And also, you don't invite that person. What kind of things are going to happen? Are they going to act out? Are they going to slash your tires? They throw a fit? Are they going to badmouth you? So Narcissists love to badmouth. They don't get their way. What did I do wrong? I offered a free meal. I offered a free meal. Did I do anything wrong? No. And, it affects other people. It affects me. It could affect future meals. And that's just a simple thing. When you're living a life with someone, this was one meal or two meals if you consider the brownies. A life with a narcissist is problems after problems after problems. So that was limited exposure. When you're living with that person, do you feel safe? When we start walking on eggshells, this is something I found that I started doing. I started talking different. You start using different words, different patterns of speech. It affects you so much that you're not expressing yourself the right way, because when you are expressing yourself, you're constantly trying to foresee the outcome, to where we become so concerned about the other person that it feels almost impossible to communicate with them. I noticed with me, with the way that they would, if they're not answering the phone, they don't give you certain options. So you leave voicemails, and one-way conversations are difficult. So you're trying to combat everything that they might say. We start to get more wordy, and that frustrates people. It was crazy how what I went through affected even just my patterns of speech, my ability to communicate. We start isolating, whether it's a narcissist that isolates us, or whether it's because of the CPTSD that we self-isolate, which can be very damaging to us, to where we start not communicating, seeing things different. We become observers instead of participants. I'm very outgoing, but I noticed that sometimes the words would not flow correctly, or you kind of jumble up your words. I know that when I'm tired, I say words that make absolutely no sense. Any of you guys go through that? Where I might see something, I use that word. Like if I'm going to say, I'm going to make tacos tonight, I'm going to make toothpaste tonight because I saw a tube of toothpaste. It's like, what are you talking about? I do that when I'm tired. But when I was dealing with a narcissist, sometimes I felt like struggling for the correct words to come. And there's so much collateral damage, such as our health. Our health can be one of the things that are outcomes. So it's, when you think about it, our health matters so much. The better you feel, the better you'll live. And that's why it's important not to neglect your own hygiene, your own nutritional needs, that even if you're depressed, you still take care of yourself. And we start feeling lonely, and it starts causing us to kind of let some of our good friendships go. We start focusing on the narcissist too much. How do we fix this? How do we connect with them? And this is a really important thing. If you guys are religious at all, if not, it can still relate. But, if you believe in God, you're not supposed to believe in any other idols and false gods, things like that. But the narcissist, we start idolizing them. And we want to bring it back. So our focus is not where it should be, whether it's focus on us or focus on our God or a mixture of the two. We're focusing on something evil, in a sense. It's easier to be tempted by evil than struggle to be good. You find, $1,000. It's like, oh man, it's so much easier just to keep it. Or do we find the true belonger, person who it belongs to? Sometimes temptation is easier than staying true. So with the cognitive dissonance that we go through, we like to choose the easier route or the route that doesn't hurt as much. So we want to believe they're just going through a hard time. They love me, but they're just going through a hard time. Are they really just going through a hard time? Because I've gone through hard times and I've been thankful for the people that have supported me. I don't lash out on them. I don't cut them down. We start to see their core. And there's a lot of collateral damage. It's not just a meal. It causes physical ailments, brain fog, loss of a true, you feel like you're dying. You feel like you're dying because you're not living. It's time to live again. Let me know how I can help you. One-on-ones are available. Topic requests are welcome. Stay strong. We'll get through this together.